Terry Floyd was a 12-year-old Maryborough boy who disappeared more than 36 years ago. The day he disappeared, he'd played football for the Maryborough Rovers in the morning before coming to visit a friend here in Avoca. This intersection was one of the last places that Terry was ever seen. It's the corner of the Pyrenees Highway and the St Rasia Highway. He was seen again later that night, further down the Pyrenees Highway towards Maryborough. Terry's younger brother Daryl has spent all of his adult life searching for his brother to try and find out answers for what happened to him. He's currently working in a disused mine site further along the Pyrenees Highway where they believe Terry's remains are.
Terry was 12 when he went missing, and I was just a couple of months short of being 10. So Terry and I went to school. We went to primary school together and all that sort of thing, done all the kids stuff, running through the bush, building cubby huts, all that. So I quoted the other day, Terry wasn't just my brother, he's also my best mate at the time. Look, all the information, as I said, suggests that this is where Terry's body could or remains do lay. So it's important for that reason, because he was my brother. It's more important, my mother spent the last 12 years of her life just looking for a son and wondering what happened to her son. My mum passed away at the age of 56 at a very young age, but also she passed away on the same day that my brother went missing, exactly 12 years later. I slept the night before at my nana's place with Terry. We stayed up there, and I was meant to get up the next morning and go to the football with Terry, but he got up a bit earlier than me and took off, so I missed going to football with him. So I went with my older brother at the time. So Terry headed off to football. Played football that morning with the Maryborough Rovers football team. Basically, so the last time I seen Terry was 7:30 that morning. From interviews and statements that have been received in Terry's disappearance, Terry got a lift out to Avoca that day after playing football. He was dropped off in Avoca after 12 o'clock. He went and visited a mate at that point in time, where they sat and played Monopoly and different games in the afternoon. And Terry was asked, did he want to lift back into Avoca, back into Maryborough at that point, which he replied no, he didn't need a lift, that his uncle was picking him up at 4:30 down at the corner. We now know it was after 4:30 that Terry made it down to the intersection of St Rasia Highway and the Pyrenees Highway. He got there around 20 to 5, quarter to 5. That ride that was meant to pick Terry up had then left Avoca and headed back into Maryborough. Terry was last sighted standing on a white post at the 80k sign just out of Avoca, like he was waiting for a lift home. He wasn't actually hitchhiking, he was just leaning on the white post like he was waiting for a lift home. Basically what we're doing, and you've spoken to the miners earlier, the miners have a contract up north in far north Queensland, so they're away for 2 weeks and then they come back for a 2-week period. Whilst they are back, they have a couple of days at home and then they venture out into the mine site. So every third week we'll be here working for 8 to 10 days doing what we're doing and removing the debris from the base of the shaft. Basically what we have retrieved out of the shaft, at the 40 metre level there was a ledge up to 40 metres, and just above that ledge at 38 metres we retrieved a sterling silver chain that was hung up on the side of the shaft. Now when my brother went missing at the time, he actually owned and wore a sterling silver chain. So whether it is Terry's or not, we're not too sure, but at the same time, what is a sterling silver chain doing down at that depth? What we're doing here, every bucket load that comes up from the bottom of the shaft, we're then dumping it on the ground. We sift through it in case we find any small fragments or bones or anything of interest, and we do find anything like that, we're then putting them aside. We wait for forensics to be notified, and then they come up and retrieve them. So that's what we do on a daily basis, is sifting through all the rubble that comes from the bottom of the shaft. We've got a couple of margarine containers that states they were the last couple of things that were pulled out of the shaft more recently, dating November and October 1981 as used by dates. So we're estimating we're in late 1980, early 81. And from other information obtained that a local butcher used to use this particular shaft for dumping cow skulls and bones down from a local abattoirs, and he stopped doing that in 1979, so we haven't yet pulled one of those cow skulls out of the shaft. Once we start doing that, we then know we're back at the 1979 mark, and we've then got 4 years worth to work back through to get to the 75 era. But this is precedent for me. This has to be done. There's no other option, but it has to be done. So financial savings and all that have been put towards the search, and also there's been funding given from the Victorian government as well to help and assist in the search, which is very, very appreciated. So I mainly do this, the drive I get behind this is because of my parents' sake. Parents have passed away. They spent, as I said, the majority last part of their life looking for their son. What needs to happen, I believe, is Terry's remains are to be found and to be buried out with his parents and given the proper burial as he deserves.